What's going on, guys? It's Tactical Trash Panda, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I haven't really talked about in the past. A lot of people always wonder why or what got me into firearms, and it's due to history. Today is April 24th, and it marks the 108th year of the Armenian Genocide remembrance. And growing up, my grandparents and my parents used to always tell me stories of what my ancestors went through. I'm a survivor. Well, my great grandparents, all four of them, both great grandfathers, both great grandmothers, they were survivors of the Armenian Genocide that took place starting from April 24th, 1915, and ended late 1917s, early 1918s. This is a genocide that most people don't really hear about. It's still not accepted by the Turkish government and Azerbaijan governments. This was a genocide that happened to the Armenians starting in the Ottoman Empire. Since we were neighbors, we had lots of Armenians living in the Ottoman Empire at the time. And eventually, the Turkish government, well, the Ottoman government at the time, they decided, hey, we want to get rid of all these Armenians. Well, that started the beginning of the genocide, where they took well-known intellectuals that were living in the Ottoman Empire and started deportations. Those deportations started, and at first, not too much word was going around, especially back then. There weren't telephones or even internet. So you were living in different villages and stuff like that. You know, a lot of farmers and Armenians at the time in Turkey were looked at as second-class citizens. So we couldn't own any arms to defend ourselves. So they started from one village to another village to different towns and whatnot. And eventually, they were going house to house, grabbing all military-aged men, from young kids to older men, that would be able to fight with the guise of, hey, the military needs you, and we're here to take you and get you ready for the military. Well, what they were using these men for were all the hard labor. They were realizing, hey, they weren't giving us any arms or nothing like that. They weren't giving us enough rations. Many of them were very malnourished. Those who spoke up about not being fed or given enough water, they were shot or killed on the spot for treason. Slowly began the elimination of Armenians in the Ottoman Empire. Well, all these deportations, women and children were left at home alone. Armenian businesses were looted. Churches, books, torn down, destroyed. And really, it was a very sad thing because nobody was really talking about it. Many Armenians were forced to walk through the deserts to their deaths, Many of them were getting their heads cut off. Pregnant women were being sliced open just for fun to see what, gender the baby would be. Women and children were getting raped. People were being hung. And eventually, like, started moving east into Armenian territory. By the time, most villagers started hearing about it, brave men and women started to fight against the Turks. Guerrilla warfare style, and ambush. And these were mainly farmers, so they didn't have weapons or anything like that, so they used whatever they could get to fight against these soldiers. Then they would pick up the dead soldiers, firearms and weapons and whatever they could, and wait for the next ambush. And really, as time grew, we had a good freedom fighters, we had a good amount of freedom fighters protecting the Armenians. The thing is, though, all of this happened because a certain government didn't want a certain people living there. And my great-grandparents were orphans. I don't know anybody past my great-grandparents, that history has been lost. They lost their brothers, their sisters, their parents were killed. A lot of them were just spread out. Who knows what happened to them? My grandmother would tell me stories about how her mother, as a little child, she was starving. She went and found the Turkish farmers, the leftover, the watermelon grind and whatnot they had left for their this is a big story, so forgive me for taking my time explaining it. But the farmer had put down watermelon grinds and all that stuff, rinds, and she tried to take one, and the farmer yelled at her and shoot her off because this guy was so afraid of what the government would do to him for aiding Armenians. Now, during the beginning of this, there was a lot of Turks that were friends with Armenians because we were living in, together and all that stuff. They were friends and they risked their life to protect us too. But many of them were shot and killed as well, along with Greeks, Syrians, and it was a total annihilation. They were trying to wipe us off the earth. So what really truly got me into firearms was these stories that I was told from the past and the importance of being armed. It was just, the thought of it was just instilled in me, and not just me, but I know a lot of other Armenians that they believe the same thing because it was instilled into them too. The need to be able to protect yourself and your community. And it's something that, many other countries have recognized. Till this day, we're still fighting for recognition from the Turkish government, the Azerbaijanis, and, they're both like cousins. We had this one small country and, there's always conflict going on till this day. Even though they will not accept it, they still fight towards it. That being said, I have no ill will against Turks. It's the governments that I don't care for. I have other Turkish friends to this day, but my actual barber that cuts my hair is Turkish. So don't take this the wrong way. This is just a history of what we went through and how I became so pro Second Amendment. Because this question has been asked of me before, and I never really got into too much detail about it. I think today, with it being Armenian genocide Remembrance Day, I believe today is a great time, the best time to really talk about it. So, guys, thanks for watching. I don't want to make this video too long. If you want to do your own research on it, you could definitely Google it. It's getting harder and harder to find information on it, but there's still plenty of information out there. It's harder to find photos, especially back then. Cameras were pretty rare, but I'll post in a couple photos throughout this video. And yeah, guys, another reason why I feel so patriotic about this is, and I'm not gonna make this about me, but my birthday is today, which is Armenian. It falls on Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. And I take a lot of pride in that. A lot of people, once they hear that, they're like, oh man, that's a sad day to have your birthday on. I'm like, well, I take pride in it because it shows others that, hey, we survived, we made it. I'm living proof of it. And we teach our children and nephews and next generation all about our history and our story. And I take a lot of pride into it. So guys, thanks for watching. There's a history. There's the biggest reason why I got into firearms. Till next time, TTP out. Thanks for watching.